Hi everybody, this is Dom and welcome to Raising the Barber. Before we start, please subscribe and hit the button so you don't miss none of it. In today's podcast, we have Richard Alexandre, who's a global design strategist who focuses on fighting climate change through innovative design. With over 10 years of experience, he co-founded two companies, PYRI, which developed a system to detect wildfire easily, and SOLUS, which is the one we're going to talk about today. So he basically created AI tools to help farmers to switch to more sustainable farming, which is something very, very difficult for them at the moment, but it's going to make sure that this is going to happen in a few years. So in today's conversation, we'll talk about how design can help tackle climate change and create a better future. So let's give a warm welcome to Richard Alexandre and stick with us and let's go.
Yo, listen to this, it's Raising the Barber, cut dip, top shop, no ribbon.
How are you today? Good?
I'm good. I'm good. A little tired of work, but really good.
That's great. Good day today.
Yes.
What can I do for your hair today?
So a little bit of the same, pretty much cut on the top, remove a little bit from the side, leaving the curls, but yeah, I think you need to remove a little bit the volume.
All right, great. So we're going to be taking about, I would say, 2 fingers off. Yeah, enough because your hair going to curl, but still very long. And then we're going to take a bit of weight on the sides and work with scissors on the side and the back, yeah?
Yes, yes.
All right, that's great. So let's start with one thing. Where are you from?
Okay, so I'm originally from Brazil, from Rio.
Okay.
Yeah. And
you grew up there then?
I grew up there. I lived there until I was 23. Then I moved to Europe. Then I moved to Brazil again. And now I'm here.
So you to Europe where then?
So yeah, when it was around 2014, I was studying design in the Netherlands. Then I spent some time in Berlin working as a designer strategist for a consultancy company there.
Okay.
Yeah, then I went back to Brazil to help a startup to build their design team.
Oh.
Yeah, it was very cool. And then in the end, I went working for McKinsey, which is like a big consultancy firm globally. Then I worked for them for a while, serving clients in Latin America, finishing like in the US. Then I moved to England, to London, to shift my career more as a designer, tackling the climate crisis and creating solutions for climate.
Is you're a designer for the planet?
Yes, I'm a designer for the planet.
Which is a big thing, man. You know, like we need you. We need a person like you because you know why? First of all, why have you decided doing design? What brought you to be a designer?
Man, this is a good question. My career started actually as an engineer. So pretty much I was going to clients, trying to understand how to optimize their processes and increase production, this kind of stuff, you know, like normal engineering. But then I realized that the aspect of the human life was being left outside of this conversation. And then I said, no, you know, I need to focus a little more on the impacts of these solutions, on how people that are working for those companies or even for the customers, how these changes that we are creating or these strategies actually is going to impact them. On that time, I just said, yeah, you know, I need to focus more on the human aspect of this. And then I became a designer for this, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Is the path that you took from the beginning hard? How does it work to be a designer for the planet? Is it difficult?
Yeah, it's actually quite a new thing. It's not that new, but it's become mainstream now.
All right.
So even on my career, like on the beginning, I was looking for how to understand what are the human needs and creating this thing called human-centric design, that we create solutions focused on people. So imagine like this, when you're using an app or a service, especially the big ones, usually they have a human being there, like trying to understand how customers or users are going to use that service and how you create the better experience for them. The big problem is we are seeing this climate crisis happening, and most of the time, we realize that we are just increasing the consumption. We are just like creating solutions that make people to consume more.
So true.
Yeah, so we have this say that we play a little bit between our friends is the designers are kind of the architects of the climate crisis in the moment that we create consumption needs, right?
True.
And then, so a few years back, I just realized that, yeah, it doesn't make sense to create solutions for helping people to consume more or to use services or to better have better experience if you're not helping them to better connect with nature. And then that was the moment that I shifted. I realized I need to design for nature much more than design for humans.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Because you basically not thinking about the human being as a consumer, but human being as a one of the others.
Yes.
A being in this planet. So
exactly.
So how to cohabit, live together with other species.
Exactly.
Which is something like goes above also being a human being yourself, you know. Have you done any, this is a crazy question, but have you done any philosophy studies, or you took it from like a deeper sense, you know, because this is something that is definitely not common, I would say.
That's a really good question. Not in terms of doing a philosophy school or nothing like that, but I read a lot about this. There is this concept that is kind of new for the mainstream too. All these conversations about being more sustainable is just like starting to be strong now, but the concept of post-humanism and the idea how you can deal with the intelligence for machines and nature and humans all together interconnected. And it's a strong mindset that you start to look the ecosystems, not just by nature separated and we humans as guardians of natures, but actually we being part as much as a tree, as an individual, right? And how we better connect our human needs with nature needs all together. Yes.
It opens up lots of questions I want to ask you. Because honestly, it's such a broad thing, you know, you're talking about the planet, how to design a better planet. Is something that you are hoping for, first of all, for your country, because you've seen something that didn't work well in your country?
That's really a fantastic question. So in 2019, we had this dam collapsed in Brazil, the Brumadinho catastrophe. And it was pretty much like an industry catastrophe caused by the industry. And then it marked me so much, like how many people died just because they didn't know how to get out from the place in time. And they died with the collapse of the dam.
My God.
And this just showed me like, okay, we are seeing all these big numbers from the UN, all the climate researchers and scientists showing us that this kind of events, together with climate events because of the climate crisis, is going just to increase the frequency. And, you know, I cannot just stay here being another financial product or financial service. I really need to use my energy to help mitigate a little bit of the impact in human lives, in nature, and all together. We like to say that we design for humanity, and then humanity is a broader concept. It's not just the human, but everything is surrounding humans too. So the environment together, right?
Shocking. It's shocking because, you know, like actually yesterday, you know, I knew I had you. So I would start thinking, the way we are so auto-destructive. Humans are so selfish to a point that they don't understand that keeping their family alive and feed their family with the best way possible, sometimes it's not the solution, you know what I mean? Because probably 50 years ago was the 70s. What wasn't invented in the 70s and now is invented? Internet, basically. So without some kind of technology, actually, consumerism was so big back then as well. Yeah, with microwaves, TVs, and blah, blah, blah. Let's go back again. Before, it was something unbelievable to think about having 2 TVs in a house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? From the basics. And now, we change TVs, we change phones once a year. We get rid of the plastic that is in there, and all the materials is made of. You may know that there's a crisis because of this, you know, there's some parts of the phones. I think it's cobalt. I guess I can't remember. Lithium.
Some high metals. Actually, I've worked on a project for that 1 year ago. That we start to realize that some of the precious metals like gold and even like some toxic ones, it's easier to find in some dumps than actually going to a mine. And then it's because of this velocity that consumption is growing and people just consuming and changing their phones super quick.
No way!
It's all this circularity conversation. And it's really cool. At the Imperial College, where I am right now, we have some researchers looking on circularity, and then they have like this big understanding that maybe material should be a service, not necessarily a consumption thing that you buy, but something that you pay for having the use for time, because then you can guarantee the circularity, you can guarantee that the material is going to return to the system. And it's a big change in mindset of consumption. And I think it's necessary. One interesting thing, like most of these consumption patterns that we have today, is a legacy from the post-war period. You know, like if you think about the 60s or the 50s, how many people we had on this planet? 3 billion, close to 4 billion, I'm not sure, but was not 10 billion as almost we are reaching now. And at that time, after the war, it made sense to have support for increasing the economy and people consuming more and all this stuff. But when you start to look today with the middle class growing in different parts of the planet, you start to question, can we still support this level of consumption? And how can we change the way we can provide services, products, and needs that is still very well connected with nature, right?
Obviously,
overusing nature, and it's a wicked problem, honestly.
It's a huge problem, and this your position is crucial for the future of this planet. Obviously, are you sure that what you guys are doing in general is gonna be more efficient for the planet? It's like, because I'm telling you, many scientists, what they do, they keep studying on one thing, and maybe it's gonna work for centuries. Scientists, as you well know, they keep going. Probably one passes away, the other one takes over. They keep going, and then some of them, they go bust. They don't have a solution for what they're studying for. So they spend the whole life for studying something, and it's never going to be used because probably there's no technology available. Do you think that your technology or your prototypes are actually efficient?
Yeah, I agree with you. Innovation is hard, especially when we talk about consumption and how you supply for a big supply chain and all the new materials that you need to work with. The innovations that I work, and we design them with the idea of feasibility in core and also viability. So it means that we should be capable of producing them, on doing them, and we also should be capable of making them viable as a business. So it's not just sustainable for the planet, but sustainable for the economy too. I truly believe that we are in a capitalist economy, but it's not that you can say the only way to save the planet is ignoring capitalism. We just need to work together, and then find ways. So yes, it's a core value for any solutions that we work, that actually they're gonna have an impact on the economy right now, and they can actually work with the economy. Yeah.
But going back to the capitalism, there's a person that I've discovered. I knew he was working for the country. I think it must have been like the head of finance. I can't remember, the Ministry of Finance in Greece. It's called Yanis Varoufakis, and he was talking about the world that we're living in today is quote unquote capitalism, but it's actually more feudalism. It's like a techno-feudalism if you consider all the biggest companies that now are taking over everything. Like all the biggest movements are made from many not many companies, but very few companies are ruling in terms of like consumption. Look at biggest one. I don't want to name any one of them because I want this to be available in the future.
Yeah.
But you can imagine one. Let's talk about the Silicon Valley and how many out of that rule nowadays. And we're talking about the biggest one, which is obviously Amazon. And I can say that because it's famous. If you think about Amazon is taking people's products and people's businesses over to help them and takes a huge commission out of it. And people are still dependent from them. So it's not capitalism because nobody can choose for himself. You're still like dependent from something bigger. Yeah. So I don't know how to call it, but nowadays it looks like things are switching, especially on the technology side. People will say, yeah, I can switch the phone off. Life is normal. Well, I don't think so. And this capitalism, this feudalism is the consequence of all of this is consumism, which is at the level that is dramatic.
I agree. It's degradation of, we can say that's degradation of power, degradation of control, but especially it's degradation of policies, let's say this way, because you know, if you have like a government that you can actually vote for them and pressure them to define exactly what kind of laws that you want, but when you talk about a big company that you cannot actually do the same thing, it becomes very hard. There is this very interesting ethical dilemma happening now, which is about AI, artificial intelligence, how you access data for AI. Today is a very unfair game. So users, they don't control the data they have. So pretty much any company can use it. And then it's a crazy example. For example, Meta and Instagram, they just launched their AI system, and then they pretty much put everybody as an opt-in. So every creation that you do and any content that you put on Instagram automatically is being utilized for training the AI model. But what does it mean? Like if you look in details, what does it mean? Like what exactly, they are using my data, my proprietary information, or my proprietary information if I'm a content creator to support their AI algorithm. And okay, how much money I'm getting from that? So it's what they call, like, there's a lack of transparency and ownership of the data that you are creating, that are being used for by these companies. And also even a lack of transparency in terms of the developers or the people who are building this technology behind, you know, that are training these machines or training these algorithms. It's just an extra layer that you take a huge organization, on few of them actually, and then give all this data information, and then it become much stronger than some governments. We have a very crazy case. Well, we have several, but one that was very interesting that happened like 1 or 2 months ago was Elon Musk, that he started to say that one of the justice ministers in Brazil, that he was crazy, that he would like put people that was like in Brazil, we were having this big issue with Bolsonaro after, right? Yeah. And then we just the government, the Justice Department, they just requested that some people were like banned from X or the Twitter, right? And then Elon Musk just started to say that the justice head in Brazil, that he was being like authoritarian, and then he would like allow those people back, and it created like a crazy pressure, because if you have Twitter as one of the biggest channel for communication, and the owner of that company can have more power than actually the justice of a whole country, what does it mean? And I think right now we are in a, of course there are much better people to talk about this kind of pressure than me, but I think right now we are in a moment that all these conversations are becoming too strong, because we are starting to see the impacts of this degradation of policies, degradation of reinforcement of law, and we don't really know what's going to happen in the future, while we have these new technologies like AI becoming so mainstream with ChatGPT and these all big companies.
True, this is true. I mean, like ChatGPT was the beginning. I think it was working so well because our days were already stored in that it can't happen in a day, right?
Yeah.
So they were doing something without asking anybody already before. So if you mention Instagram and Meta and TikTok, they are just trying to catch up. This is just a business. It's like, you know, I'm a barber. I have a price and somebody else has a different price, but I work better than him. So the one with a different price is going to do anything to you know, to keep the same level as I have, right? In terms of service and stuff. The same with the big corps. They just, they're doing like a race like Apple and you know, Android and Samsung and whatever. They're just trying to keep up. And we have Gemini, and then we have Microsoft Edge is called Copilot.
Yeah.
I use Copilot.
You use Copilot? It's really good. It's powered by the OpenAI.
I have a Samsung laptop, so I'm a Samsung lover. Yeah. But yeah, that's it. You know what I mean? Like, you have everyone trying to copy each other, like everybody in this world, just to make money and just to make sure that you don't, you know, you're not left behind. Yeah. Then obviously, if ChatGPT just has exploded, it's just because it was so surprising that you can type down whatever you want and it's good enough. Nowadays, it's good enough, fast enough that you can do whatever. Literally, you can write down codes. I've tried. I don't know, strategies, everything really in such a unique way that you can't think about what's going on. And Copilot does something else. You can use photos on Copilot and you can check if AI, who's the creator of that. So you can use an AI powered image. So I created, you know, from nothing, and you can check if it's on internet or if it's ever been made. There's nothing. And people say, yeah, you taking my art and stuff like that, but there are thousands, billions of datas. I can imagine that it's been always there. Facebook, I don't know. Facebook was one of them at the beginning.
It is a hard problem, and just to be clear, I'm 100% in favor of the evolution of technology. I think AI is fantastic, and I use ChatGPT a lot. It's like very crazy how it became part of our lives. It's not that I'm against it. It's just that we need to really understand. Remember, I was telling you a few minutes ago about post-humanism, that you have like how you connect nature, machines and humans, and how you design for the three of them.
Yes.
So I think it's a little bit about that. When we expand the ethical conversation for designing for more than humans, it's a nice way that even the UK research innovation organization, they talk like that too. Designing for more than humans, it means like when you design, you understand the impact on the technology too, like including artificial intelligence. Although it's coded by someone, but what does it mean, the interaction between these artificial intelligence, humans, and nature? How do you integrate this impact in these three levels? It becomes very blurry, the separation between them. You know, and then when you talk about nature, the same thing. How I can guarantee that when I'm designing a new product, the impact in nature makes sense. So last year on the Design for Planet from the Design Council event, one of cool discussions was like, why do we need so many chairs in this planet? Why? And how many of them are being used? But all of them have some sort of material being used there that in the end is going to not be used anymore. So this responsibility about the consumption and how things are going to be interconnected, it's necessary. And so bring a little bit the conversation why I became a designer for planet. I think it's more like having this realization that while in the 2000s we had the digital revolution that everybody was working with digital, now we have this AI and sustainability revolution that we need to understand how to integrate all these new intelligence and ecosystems all together. And then when
they work together, you think that it's gonna be like in a few?
They must to. You cannot push back AI anymore, right? It's here. At the same time, we have a 10 billion population rising, and then we need to produce for them. So this is incredibly challenging for you to have an idea, I'm working, one of the initiatives that I'm working now is called SOLUS. And then we start to look what's happening with the soil, considering that we have like this boom, populational boom. We start to understand, for example, the climate crisis. One of the big tolls of climate crisis is losses of biodiversity. And then we look on the soil to understand what this loss of biodiversity means. So the soil is pretty much like our guts. All the nutrient cycles starts there in the earth, on the dirt, so on the roots, and then all this together. But until now, for the past 40 years, around 35% of the global topsoil, fertile topsoil, was degraded. It means like 1/3 of the topsoil on Earth is degraded. And then the predictions by the UN is that by 2015, we're gonna have a 10% decrease of crops capacity or crops production. So imagine, considering the moment that we are now, we won't be able to produce we will only be able to produce 10% less of any kind of crops, weeds, potatoes, whatever. Wow. This is just look on the soil degradation. But at the same time, while today we have 8 billion people, we're going to have 2 billion people more by 2050, around 10 billion people on Earth. How can you guarantee food security and food scarcity is going to be like this big problem, big challenge that we're going to deal with?
This 10% is a lot.
Yes, it's a lot. But then you say, what a designer is doing to deal with that?
That's what I was about to ask, but...
It looks like a researcher problem or a scientist problem, right? But when we start to look at this problem of the soil degradation, we learn that around 75% of this degradation is caused by the current industrial agriculture practices that we have. It's the monoculture, putting a lot of chemical inputs like fertilizers, pesticides. And it's crazy because even if you put fertilizers or pesticides in a crop to make it grow strong, it's like putting some external hormone in your body, you know? You are killing the microbiome of the soil.
Talking about testosterone, whatever.
Exactly.
Same thing.
It's the same thing. So you are killing that microbiome. Over time, the soil starts to degrade because it doesn't have like all microbiomes that you need to work. And as the harvest are going on, then you just start to have like dirt, eroded soil. You know,
and this is one of the planet. We go back to the planet thing, you know.
Yeah.
I believe, and I firmly believe one thing. Yeah, the people, unfortunately, they don't care. People don't care about the planet. You know, there's a two. I think there's two type of people. The one who wake up in the morning and just go on the news, trying to understand what's going on in the world, that they get worried about that and probably do something about it. Others, they, instead of like opening a nice newspaper or like a journal or whatever, they just scroll on Instagram and TikTok. They don't care.
I agree. And I think there are two problems there for that. And one, well, you can see this happening now with the European elections and how the far right has grown like on this year. But it shows how the mindset is going. People, of course, are looking on the economy, but it shows like how this is how playing a role. But remember when I told you that I sometimes says that the designers are kind of architects of the scales?
Yeah.
Well, I think it comes on to that point. We created a society of convenience. So all the designs and services and apps and Instagram, we are creating some sort of convenience. And then you are looking for convenience, you're not looking for your impact all the time. So when we say that people don't care, I cannot just put the fault on them. I really see that we created a society that they are much more individualistic. They are looking for what makes their life easy, right? So it becomes very complicated. I think these are connected somehow.
No, it's absolutely connected. It definitely, I believe that the big driver has been always money. And, you know, people are so avid and so like selfish in general. Yeah, it's a group of people that slowly it's like, you know, having people in suit and tie, but at the end of the day they are very primal tribe trying to make money and just survive in a way.
Yeah.
Or thrive, whatever. The big issue is it comes to the future, and the only spark I've seen lately about this was when the activist, you know, the famous activist, that she was, I forgot the name. I just lost
Greta
Thunberg.
Yeah,
I think it's
Thunberg,
but they say Thunberg or Thumbere. I don't know the pronunciation, but we are not from there.
Yeah, we are not from there. Yeah,
I struggle with English. Imagine another language. So that was the spark. That was the moment when I felt like, finally, these kids are doing something. Because I was the first one when I was 14, 13, whatever. I was going everywhere, every protest. I was on the streets every single time we had to do something for the country or to change something. There's some people who do it. Some other people, they do change the country in a different way.
Yeah.
But finally, when I saw Greta and the whole crowd cheering for her, I was like, finally. And then what happened? I don't know. Like, I think Peru, Brazil, so all the Amazon area, it's just like been literally like killed by the consumption. They keep cutting trees. They don't care about, they burn the lands, and because they need to do like palm trees. Now there's another thing they're trying to do is another plant they use to make other things, plus the traffic of people, plus you have marijuana lands. They consume a lot of water. There's no regulation for that. So I'm obviously I'm not anti marijuana. I'm pro, as everyone should be, because it's something that comes from the ground. But at the same time, as you're talking about agriculture, the way it's been done now, people have done it until now, was good for 3 billion people, but not for 10 billion people. Yeah, is it?
Yeah, that I agree. And there is this fantastic documentary called Kiss the Ground, and there was one moment that they say, like, think about how much of the Amazon you are destroying to have like a $1 burger in the US, you know, like because of the meat that you're consuming there. And it's a fantastic way to look at this. Like you don't connect that $1 burger with the Amazon being destroyed, you know. We don't have this systemic thinking and feeling and all this interconnected. So it's fun. Yeah,
I think it's mentioned also in one of the books I was reading. It's called Ultra Processed People. The part when, you know, every $1 burger, I don't know how many kilometers of land are being destroyed or being used for that.
It always is the same source, and then the water that you need to use for this and all the interconnected impact. I think it's crazy that. As an engineer, I think that's much more like you must be pragmatic on this. You're destroying the land. Over time, it's going to be a problem. There are some numbers that are questioned today, but there are some numbers saying that we have only 60 harvest seasons capacity. Yeah, 60. So 60 years basically.
Wow,
these numbers are questioned though, but it raises like the fear, and still we live like the politics for short-term versus long-term have a bigger role, and I question that. That's the thing that I question on the system, how we can reduce a little bit this kind of thing, because it's a pragmatic decision. It shouldn't be like so political.
Do you think it shouldn't be so political? I'm sure, but politics could do something about it. But we won't talk about politics today.
Today is a hard day.
Yeah. No. But definitely what you're doing for the world is already, let's say, you're doing something. Yeah. Which is in the future can be capable to solve many problems. Yeah. But in like generally speaking, is this gonna work for our generation? Is this gonna be?
I hope so. So it's really cool because some very good designers that I've been working with, they say that the designer of the future is going to be a farmer because we're gonna flourish, we're gonna grow stuff instead of just like producing manufacturing stuff. And I agree with that. And SOLUS as an initiative, for example, for soil, we are looking a lot on this movement called new farmers. So, for example, in the US, there are some numbers that show that almost 1/3 of the farmers are new farmers that has less than 10 years of experience in farming. And at the same time, we are seeing like this big movement of people that work in tech or working in normal industries. They are getting out from that and going to farming just to be closer to nature. And then they have an appetite to change the behavior, how to deal with nature, to be more regenerative. And regenerative is about that, how we can fix the soil, how we can bring the soil back to what it was before. So
how difficult.
It's a very complex problem, especially because it takes a while to have the return on the investment. Some farmers, they are very stuck on the practices that they've been using for years, but these practices are the backbone of the problem that we are having on the monoculture. Now, yeah. And then there is a big policy issue too, that the policies that we see, sometimes they reinforce these industrial agriculture practices, like locking the farmers on this context, right? And then what we are doing at SOLUS is how we can make it easy for farmers to implement regenerative practices, checking how the crop, what kind of crop combination they can use in their farm to regenerate the soil, how they can monitor over time, and most importantly, how they can get access to green funds like carbon credit or loans, that just because they're taking care of the soil, but today is such a complex system to get certifications and all this, and how can we make it easy? So we are using AI again for that, and that's why I say that I'm not against the technology, because I think it's powerful to help like make all these analysis, because it's a complex system. You need to look on a biodiversity standpoint, so how you use different kind of crops mixed in the same area, how you mix with animals and insects to guarantee that you have all this together working, and it can be very hard for a farmer to have all these analysis at the same time, and then we are just trying to make it easier for them so they can assess if it's the health of the soil and the health of their crops are actually going in a good direction by implementing regenerative practices. So yeah, and I hope this is going to start to help in our generation.
I mean, it's raining again, and I was looking outside and I thought about the rain, and I thought about your experience in Italy. You went to Italy or something?
Yeah.
You told me something crazy last time. What happened?
Yeah. So I went to Italy in the beginning of SOLUS, actually. I had a break. First I went to Slovenia for a while, spent like 1 week in the mountains, just like meditating, relaxing, talking to no one and getting off the grid a little bit, just to be close to nature. And after that, a friend and I, that are working SOLUS together, we went to Italy to just start to visit farmers and scientists dealing with the soil. We want to understand what are the challenges today to actually take care of the soil and to regenerate it. And then it was a fantastic moment by talking to scientists, understanding how wicked the problem is. And even for them, it's still very hard to say, if a soil is healthy or not. You don't have enough data to say that, because each soil is so specific, is so special. The only thing that you have is like the process. What do I need to do for the soil to make the soil healthy? And then implement practices that guarantee that respect the context of that soil. So this is what we learned from the researchers. And then talking with the farmers was the most wholesome moment. I had like I had contact with some farmers that are doing regenerative soil for a long time. They work with more than 300 variety of crops on their farms.
Are they from Italy, or are they from abroad that they have land in Italy?
They are very mixed. They are in Italy right now, but they just opened their farm. So before, they had this farm in Slovenia for 12 years.
Yeah.
The farm in Slovenia, they were supplying one of the Michelin stars restaurants there. So it's where they learned a lot about regenerative farming and no-tilling, all these practices that's more sustainable. And now they moved to Italy a few months ago just to start a new farm from the ground there, and then having to protect and regenerate the whole soil from scratch, And it was a fantastic moment to understand exactly this process of transitioning from a monoculture or a soil that was degraded to a soil that will become very healthy, and how long it takes and how complex all the decisions that you need to make and how you need to connect. But you know, the thing that I loved the most about this experience was seeing that even with all the technology, sensors and data sheets that you can create, what was very common from the researchers to the farmers was like, I don't need another sensor. I don't need another data sheet. I can just like touch the ground, smell and feel, oh, this is smell with a lot of, I don't know, it's a healthy soil, it's a humid soil, it's a dry soil. Do I have fungi here? Do I have some sort of yeast? Well, how is this, like this touch, this sensorial thing? And it's fantastic because then we start to study about this thing called traditional ecological practices, that it's looking for how indigenous people were dealing with soil and how our senses were so connected with nature to observe and understand what it was there, and seeing the farmers even today, instead of relying on technology, actually going for this deeper connection with nature. It just reinforced this idea that technology is not here to just like give you knowledge, but maybe it's here to help you translate what is happening there, to translate nature a little bit for you, and then help you to better integrate and connect with them. And I think this is the backbone of designing for planet. Designing for planet is not designing solutions that make things automatic for humans, but make things that connect humans with nature in a better way. And that's what you're trying to do.
Unbelievable. Yeah. It's something I really like. I didn't want to even stop you because I was so like, you know, focused on what you were saying. I was so like literally immersed. The thing is, today, would it be possible to have a large scale, ecological, sustainable use of land and you know, that you can replicate in an idea all over the world? Yes.
Well, actually that's a hard question, because then the next question would be why we don't have it yet. But yeah. It's a very complex challenge. There is a lot of tests being, people are trying different things. Usually it's more on the systemic side of the problem, and when I say systemic, it's like, how do you guarantee a complex supply chain with minor producers, with very biodiverse production and crops, and how do you operate all that? And most importantly, how can we make this shift or transitioning from the technology and the practices that we had before to these new practices? Sometimes there is this locking that the farmers feel themselves or see themselves because they have just the machines that doesn't support this new system, you know? In terms of is it possible to make like a big crop, regenerative farm? Yes, it is. Is it easy? No, definitely. It's very hard.
What's hard?
It's hard accessing funds. It's hard changing the practice itself, changing the mindset and the behavior of the traditional farmers, let's say this way. It takes a little while to have the soil regenerated. We see now that there are some movements to try to change that, like with the European government trying to put more money on these practices that are more regenerative. But it's still like, it's more like an operational and policy challenge sometimes, and educational challenge too for the farmers. But we can start to see some good cases. You can check on Amazon or Netflix. You find many of documentaries about this, how farmers are changing, and they are all wholesome because it's pretty much respecting nature. But yeah, when you talk about the industrial level, it's a big path to go. There is a big path to go still to actually implement this.
Is there anything that we, as normal people that wake up in the morning and go to work, could do to mitigate and to like reduce the use of the consumption, not only of technology that we know what to do? You're better than not buying things on internet, and that's it, you solve it. But how can we like get a better fruit, and a better use of vegetables, a better use of like our land or a little piece of soil that we have at home.
Yeah.
What do you recommend? What do you suggest to do?
Well, think about the value of a convenience, you know. Do I need to use Amazon or delivery systems all the time to deliver my produce? Can I use the farmer's market in my neighborhood? You know, you are supporting the farmers that is in your neighborhood already. Can I go to the supermarket instead of having that sent to my home sometimes? Can I look for more like organic solutions? I know that sometimes can be a little more expensive, but in Europe it's easier to get than in other parts of the planet. But is this difference in cost is going to be like that big toll? Especially if you consider that our organic solution probably is going to have a better effect in your organism too, because you're not putting toxins inside of you. So even in the long term, it's a better business for you, even you're paying a little more. So think about this, think about your convenience, how much your convenience is valuable in detrimental of what you are getting from nature and how you're making all this like very terrible system work. I would look on that direction.
That's great. There's something that I honestly do. I do love go to the farmer's market.
Yeah.
Yeah, first of all, because as Italian, I struggle finding good quality products. I'm super picky on this, but you know, in general, I like to go there because I know that there's not the big man behind it. Just people who have a piece of land, they try to make a living, they sell organic food, and the taste of it, guys, is just like 1,000 times better than anything you've ever found in any supermarket. Even if you pay like a couple of quid more, but honestly, it's worth it. It's worth it. First of all, because you literally appreciate every meal that you have, raw or cooked. Yeah. And also, it's very seasonal. How many non-seasonal products and produce we have in the world? I don't know, I cannot count. But if I find an avocado in London in December, something is wrong.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying to you.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I agree with the fact that we should actually like consider the use of organic produce and products as well, of recyclable things. Easy. I go to the guy to buy the kefir. I love kefir. I go buy it. I bring back the bottle and they give me 50p discount. It's not about money. It's about recycling.
Yeah.
That thing would go into the bin and probably would never be used again because it's going to be crushed with all the stuff that they do, and it's going to be back in 1,000 years. Instead of reusing, we just get rid of things. And this is also one of the things that I can add to the whole thing: recycling. Exactly. Recycling in the simplest way ever. Fixing things. If something is broken, fix it. Yeah. Don't change it.
These small actions, they make such a big impact, economy wise, because you're supporting like smaller producers and of course for the whole supply chain system, it's very interesting. And that is the best way to generate a sort of force in the market, you know. Of course, I think like in the beautiful world for any scientist and climate advocate, it would be like a policy driven that the government really understand the impact of this stuff and start to work right now to change everything. But we know that politics start to become like a short-term versus long-term strategy, and then this can become kind of problematic thing to generate the best policies. But if you take the decision to take like these small steps, is already a lot, and it's really important. Yeah,
that's great. I'm definitely like, I'm with you 100%, whatever you say, to be honest with you. You know better than me as well. So.
We all know, that's the thing, we all know, we all have this inside of us, we just forgot to see and to listen.
That's great. What's the end point of this new technology? At what point are you ready to
launch?
Yeah.
No, right now we are still on the development phase. So we are talking to farmers, soil researchers, farming researchers, scientists, but especially with farmers that are interested to regenerative practice, but they find this is still hard, or they are very like opening to try this new practice. And then we are talking to them to collaborate and build a solution that actually makes sense to their pain. So it's not that we are launching yet, but now we are actually connecting with them and guarantee that what we are designing is strong for their needs and their challenges.
I was talking to another guest who works in shipping in terms of like commodities, right? So grain and all that kind of stuff. And we're talking about billions of tons every month, whatever, right? So would it be affected in terms of, would it be this organic big commodity trading, like shipping large quantity of soybeans, large quantity of like whatever you need to ship from a country to another? Would it be possible to have the same quantity with the same?
That's a big question.
I know. I need to reduce my question. I need to like count my questions.
No, that's fine. But that's a big question. To be honest, I don't have the answer. It's part of the economy in general, right? Like
yeah, true.
And these are the bigger producers. I think over time we're gonna get there. It requires a big change on mindset.
Definitely.
To be honest, I don't have a good answer for that right now. But yes, it's going to have an impact.
Oh, I wish, honestly, because you know, I think that also I think the big impact on, as I said, as we are talking about it, it's all about consuming and reducing the consumption of things, or like recycling and whatever comes with it. And I believe that, you know, together with that, there's also a big part of the industry, which is not agriculture, but it's like, you know, animal consumption in general. Yeah. So probably this could be also a way to reduce the impact on the world, which is something that honestly, I do eat meat, but as I said to you, I do go to the farmer's market to buy it. I don't buy the steak from Sainsbury. I get delivered one steak at home, all these kind of things. I try to go the organic thing, but you know, the mass consumption of the food in such a way, I think is also a problem. And I think, do you think it's related to agriculture as well? In terms of like killing the soil because we need to make more.
Well, in Brazil we have this say that most of the soil that we are producing there is actually going to the cows. So it becomes like this big challenge of how much of a produce. It's not a say; it's actually a truth. To be honest, we produce a lot of soil for the cows in the livestock industry actually, and it starts to compete soil and start to compete biodiversity like Amazon. Just to produce soil for livestock, definitely has an impact there. Like the way that we consume meat, and the way that we treat animals too is it's all interconnected with the regeneration of the soil. So one big thing that we learned is that to guarantee a very healthy soil, you need to mix both together. So there's the Soil Academy that they have like a few rules about how you can implement the regenerative practices for the soil. And then one of the rules, the 6 rules that they have is like mix animals and plants. Because actually when you have animals, they are helping to graze, they are helping to produce manure, and all these just go back to the soil as fertilizers and nutrients for the soil, you know, so they have it. And now when you talk about the consumption cycle, it's really sad to see. You can look there are several documentaries about that the Kiss the Ground one is a good one talking about this too, how like livestock is being treated today. It's pretty much like these big farms that has no connection with nature, of the soil or whatever. It's all gray, like that eroded soil brown where they live. It's a very sad life. And
so true.
It's almost like I don't know. We have this say that we need to look at nature not by its mechanisms or mechanical capacity or value for providing something to us, but more in a holistic way. And then the way that you treat soil and animals and actually the livestock, it's a little bit like almost, okay, this is just another thing that I'm producing to eat, but actually there is a life there. And so I don't know. I eat meat too, but I try to eat meat like consciously. I don't eat every day. It's very in occasions, and I look for what's the source of that meat to guarantee that I'm doing the best job as possible to not just like get something bad. Especially because I think people are starting to be more aware of that. There is this concept that you can check out, which is like the One Health concept. The One Health is about the health of the soil and health of the body, and this can be like expanded to also the health of animals, like all these medicines that they put on the animals and how this is going to impact your life together. So if we mix all this ecosystem of food and plants and how this is going to affect you, I think you need to be more cautious about the animal consumption too.
Definitely, but this is so big for people.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
It's a no-brainer, but it's all this what I'm saying, it's a no-brainer. There is no new there. I think everybody kind of intuitively know. But I was talking to this farmer once about what prevents like traditional farmers to go to regeneration if they know that in a few years their soil is going to be degraded and eroded. And then he said, Richard, it's like a smoker, you know it might give you cancer, it's shortening your life, but because of a short-term mindset, you're gonna keep doing what you're doing because you're just used to it. And I think like this can be extrapolated for what you're asking right now, why people keep their consumption behaviors, because it's just convenient, and then they create a convenient society, and then
again we go back to the convenient society.
Exactly.
It's just you see these patterns coming back every time. It looks like we made a society that is not made for us, it's not made for the world, it's made for few of them who were lucky enough and powerful enough to make something that was looking like, let's say, in control.
Yeah.
But I think every form of society is a failure. Every type of it is a failure, because at the end of the day, we look at the society from our point of view. We would never remember that we just are points in a universe.
Yeah.
And if we're lucky to have such a planet, and the whole planet is almost made to fit everyone and not only us. Not human fit, is like animal fit, insect fit, is all the beings. They should live together in a normal ecosystem. And what I'm just remembering is the thing you said before. You said we try and use animals to live or to eat in the same lands that they are supposed to grow in ecological way, in a sustainable way, right? This is what used to happen before. Yeah. I think, and there's nothing surprising for me, but it looks like we need to re-educate the entire world, and we need to remind people that we live in a world that is made of many other like beings.
Yeah, not even sense beings, any other beings, because a tree, well, today it's interesting that people even questioning if nature, like plants, are not sensible, but any kind of beings. To be honest, I think in the end I have like a positive feeling about that. I see that people are changing. The new generations, they are starting to talk about that a lot. There is a force to understand that there is an impact, and somehow it's sad that the impacts are going to be stronger and stronger, and people are going to move not because they believe in this change, but mostly because they're gonna feel the impact on their lives. But still, I see a lot of people with the trust, the idea, the feeling, the goals of building a better world. So on this direction, I see, for example, the Imperial College They have here in London. They have like this strong feeling, this strong goal of being a science for humanity. This is their motto. You know, like how all the innovation and technology being created at school is being for how you can enhance the humanity life. A lot of this is about sustainability. Bright minds work in sustainability. You see Design Council, the Design Council has the Design for Planet network with more than 240 designers and innovators thinking about how you can create innovation and advocating for innovation for the planet. And these are people thinking about consumption and creating new solutions and new products and new architectures and new building environments. So this movement is happening, is getting there. What I would dream of is like making this mainstream, like everybody questioning this, from the grandmas to the moms to the youth, everybody in all ages and everywhere, discussing a little bit about what we are doing and how this is impacting. But I think we're gonna get there. I have a good feeling about it. I like to think that we are doing a good effort.
Wow. I mean, like, honestly, you know, whenever I think about this thing, you know, I start reasoning on how to make my life and better, how to help the environment, how to do and that. Every time, now we go from a thing to another. But, you know, I think about my grandma. They was always saying to me, this is very touching to this point. I mean, for me, if you think that at lunchtime, we were having the pasta, whatever, obviously. Italian. We were having the pasta, and then together with that, a piece of bread, whatever. My grandma used to give us the new bread to us. She still does eat the old one. She was like, for me, it's not a problem. I use a bit of water, just, you know, for me, it's good. This is that literally, I think it's crucial to understand how to, I don't know, not to like waste stuff. You know what I mean? It's crazy. My grandma used to say always, I eat the hard one. It's not a problem for me. And she's now 80. She's still alive, and she's having a great time. And at the end of the day, this is the way it is. You know, it's just trying to be more sensible. More like, you know, empathic with the things that we do. Give more sense to the money as well. Give more sense to the things that we have around us. And just keep going. You know?
Yeah, I love like talking and listening and understanding how was the life of the grandmas and grandpas, because they had a sustainable life, you know. True. Like when they were younger, they were like, it was a completely different system, and it's a very inspiring. So for SOLUS, we are looking a lot about something called traditional ecological knowledge, tech, and this based indigenous knowledge, like, and then how people were looking for the cycles of earth and cycles of plants and nature to understand what was happening there and how to take care and how to see, oh, this plant is not growing that much, so this other one, you need to cross this and there. And then, but then you talk to a grandma or a grandpa, and you have all that old knowledge, and you keep saying, how they know that? But actually, it's there because they were observing, they were looking at this, and there is a lot of wisdom that we need to just observe and respect.
So true. I was talking about my grandma again, about plants, because she loves plants, right? Every time we were going somewhere to some parks and stuff, I used to, like, you know, work by myself with my family, and we lost her. Every time we lost her because she was like trying to steal some plants off the gardens and stuff, because she wanted to grow her plants. She never bought one plant. Her house is full of plants. She has it like for 20 years. She's been growing it because she was taking just a tiny bit of this and that. She was like, no, don't tell anybody. Put it in the purse, go back home, use the, you know, a bit of soil and stuff. And it kept growing. And this is the love, for example, of this. Is in my family, is in me, because I grow my basil, for example. I grow my different plants because I like them. I don't like to buy basil now and just probably just throw it in a couple of days. I didn't use all of it. So I like to grow my plant and just to use it. It's more respectful also for myself, for the, you know, for the use of it. I think
it's alive.
nice.
In the end, it's alive. It's just like alive.
It's
you know?
just beautiful, you know, that sauce that I do at home with the tomato sauce. When I put my basil in it, man, it's next level. You know what I mean? That's what I love. It's made with love.
Yeah.
Everything must be made with love, I guess. I mean, I believe.
I agree.
It's crazy, man. Oh, now I want to go to the retreat, the 10 days in the forest where you know what happened, man.
Oh, what happened? Well, this life of trying to be a climate innovator can be very hard, you know. The challenge is there, is knocking the door. As you were asking me, all the things that I'm creating is going to be for this generation, we're gonna use it. And yes, but it means that we need to run and the pressure is high. And I guess like I had it was a little too much in a period, the pressure. And then I decided to go to the mountains. I think like every time being connected with nature is a good way to reconnect with yourself. And so when I went to Slovenia, I just looked for a hut on top of the Slovenia. Okay, it was already spring, but I want to have snow because then I didn't have to talk with anyone. I was just by myself there, and it was pretty much that. And then I spent 10 days meditating, doing yoga and hiking in Slovenia in a mountain, and it was beautiful because after a while that you are completely in silence and just with you, we start to hear things differently. You start to hear nature differently. You start to hear your body differently too, and I think that's what I was looking for, especially before jumping to this trip to Italy to talk with farmers and having first this bigger connection with myself. So yes, that's it.
This is unbelievable. You say you love Slovenia, do you?
I love Slovenia. It's one of my favorite places in this planet.
What Slovenia gave you at first sight? What were you?
I think the nature. It's almost like the whole country. It feels like a connection with nature somehow. It doesn't feel like that urban settlement that everybody is hustling. Of course, you go to Ljubljana, some parts you're gonna have it, but being close to nature and the parks, it feels like so earthy, and I don't know. I just have this hell of time always when I'm there, and yeah.
Beautiful. You grew up in Rio, and was also your like connection with nature around Rio very present?
Yes. So in Rio we have like these large urban parks, natural parks that it's in the middle of the city, like the Tijuca forest. And then I was always doing hiking and in nature in the mountains or going to the beach. So it was always like, this was my life, being close to nature. And this was like a day-to-day thing, right? And you know what is funny though? I miss a lot mountains because in Rio we have a lot of mountains. And then as I start to when I moved to London, I think it was the first thing that I missed the most, like being close to mountains. There is almost a feeling of safety and like a protection, you know. Maybe that's why I like Slovenia so much. I always go to the Alps, so it's always like in the middle of the mountains. I just feel safe there, and this is one thing I think, like being from Rio, that I miss a lot, having the mountains close.
Do you go back much?
Okay, once in a year? Yeah.
It's very far, is it?
It's far.
It takes ages to get and stuff. I can imagine.
It's far. Yeah.
What's the? I've got quick questions before we finish. First of all, how do you like it? Is it okay? Is it a good haircut for you?
It's great. It's great. I don't even need to check.
You're too kind, man. Too kind. So, how much you miss your country?
A lot. I miss the people, not being close to family. You know, it's a long time now that I'm not close to my family anymore, but still I miss my country a lot. Yes.
To the point that would you go back one day?
I don't think so. At least not soon. All this climate discussion and innovation, unfortunately, although Brazil could be an amazing place to talk about sustainable innovation, isn't still the market for that. And so you see like the investment, the ecosystem much stronger in other places like here in Europe. And I think that's the main reason, to be honest. Is not even because I don't like the country, it's just because I feel like the capacity of impact for me there wouldn't be the best place yet for the kind of work that I do.
And then in the future, maybe you can help your country with your work.
For sure. Like I talked a lot about SOLUS. SOLUS is about soil regeneration. Brazil is one of the countries with the most degraded soil, together with India, China, and the Emirates and the Middle East area. But there is another work that I was doing too. It's PYRI, which is a wildfire detection system. It's award-winning. We are getting some awards now for that. We created a organic electronic that can detect fire when it's still in the beginning, especially for wildfires in the middle of the forest. There is this staggering data showing that by the end of the century, we're going to have an increase in our wildfires by 50%, mostly in areas that are not used to fires, like the Amazon. And then we are already talking to the government, the Brazilian government, to how to do a pilot in Brazil with PYRI. So even though I'm here, it's not that I'm not solving the challenges there. It's just that here I see like the opportunity to get money and to get the investment and the voice to implement these worldwide. So not just in Brazil, but also in Brazil, you know, in Brazil, in India, all these countries that are going to see all these changes and they receive the impact of the climate crisis a little bit.
Mamma mia, man. If I vote for you, man, if you go in politics.
No, I cannot go. I need, it's not policy.
You need to work. You need to work.
I need to work.
Blah, keep working, man. I vote for you. I don't know, whatever you want. I'm gonna support you forever. Unbelievable. I'm so, you said to me in the beginning, man, I'm so happy to be here. So you cannot imagine how happy I am to have you here to talk about something so valuable for me and for us in general. I'm very, very glad you were so fast to make this happen. Yeah. So last questions. Yeah. Last question, actually. Have you got in your career any regrets?
Any regrets? Definitely not. No. I was very intentional in my career, to be honest, since the beginning. While I was at school, although I did engineering and didn't find myself as an engineering student on the beginning, now I'm an engineer again. I'm a design engineer now, but the initial of my career, I used that as an opportunity to actually access companies and marketers that made sense to me. So I really don't have any regrets. I think I did a good job. I'm very proud of the evolution that I did, actually.
That's great. Muito bom. Now you need to tell me something in Portuguese, man. I want to feel a bit of saudade.
Um pouco de saudade?
Tell me something. Say something to our listeners, our viewers in Portuguese. Something that can reach the heart of people.
Então, para os brazucas aí que querem salvar o Brasil junto comigo, só manda uma mensagem e vamos fazer juntos.
Beautiful. Voila.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. And I appreciate your presence again. And whenever you want to come back, I'm here.
Of course.
And good luck with everything. Right?
Thank you. 4 weeks I'm going to be here again. You know.
Take care.